prayer meeting. Shall I call you later? Sure. Namaste, good morning to everyone. We will begin today's Satsang by chanting from the Vedic mantras, and before we do that, let us spend a few minutes in chanting the mantra Om. Please take in a deep breath and let us chant the mantra Om 28 times.
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ओंकारं बिन्दुसंयुक्तं नित्यं मोक्षदं चैव ओंकाराय नमो नमः। ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमा सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ ह्रीं नमः शिवाय। ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमो नमः। ॐ जननीं शारदां देवी रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। ॐ नमः श्रीयतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। ॐ नमः शिवाय शान्ताय कारणत्रयहेतवे निवेदयामि च आत्मानं त्वं गतिः। हनुमत् समेत श्रीरामचन्द्र परब्रह्मणे नमः। ॐ आपदाम् अपहर्तारम् दातारं सर्वसम्पदाम् लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामम् भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्। ॐ यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनम् तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिम् बाष्पवारी परिपूर्णलोचनम् मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम्। ॐ वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ॐ मूकं करोति वाचालम् पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिम् यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ सर्वमङ्गलमाङ्गल्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोऽस्तुते। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is discord, unity. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is error, truth. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is sadness, joy. Where there is darkness, light. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, प्रेम के सिंधु दीन के बंधु, प्रेम के सिंधु दीन के बंधु, दुख दारिद्र्य विनाशन हे, दुख दारिद्र्य विनाशन हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, विश्वविधाता, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, नित्य अखंड अनंत अनादि, पूर्ण ब्रह्म सनातन है, पूर्ण ब्रह्म जगदाश्रय जगपति जगवंदन, दाश्रय जगपति जग अनुपम अलख निरंजन हे, अनुपम अलख निरंजन हे, हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, जगत्राता विश्वविधाता, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, हे सुख शांति निकेतन, प्राण सखा त्रिभुवन प्रतिपालन, प्राण वन प्रतिपालक, जीवन के अवलंबन है, जगदाश्रय जगपति जगवन्दन दाश्रय जगपति जगवन्दन अनुपम अलख निरंजन हे अनुपम अलख निरंजन हे जगत्राता विश्वविधाता जगत्राता विश्वविधाता हे सुख शांति निकेतन हे सुख शांति निकेतन।
Song number 5. Ram Krishna Sharanam, 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 Sharanye, Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. कृपा हि केवलं 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 शरण्ये कृपा हि केवलं शरण्ये कृपा हि केवलं कृपा हि केवलं प्रभु कृपा हि कृपा हि केवलं कृपा हि केवलं शरण्ये कृपा हि केवलं शरण्ये। जय जय राम कृष्ण शरणं राम कृष्ण शरणं राम कृष्ण शरणं शरण्ये। जय जय राम कृष्ण शरणं राम कृष्ण शरणं शरणं। शरणागतोऽहं शरण्ये शरणागतोऽहं शरणागतोऽहं शरण्ये शरणागतोऽहं 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 शरण्ये शरणागतोऽहं 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 शरण्ये। राम कृष्ण शरणं राम कृष्ण शरणं राम कृष्ण शरणं शरण्ये। जय जय राम कृष्ण राम कृष्ण शरणं शरण्ये। नमो श्री गुरवे नमो श्री गुरवे नमो श्री गुरवे नमो नमः नमो श्री गुरवे नमो श्री गुरवे नमो श्री गुरवे नमो नमः नमो श्री गुरवे नमो नमो श्री गुरवे नमो श्री गुरवे नमो नमः। राम कृष्ण शरणं राम कृष्ण शरणं
Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya, Ram Krishna Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya, Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya, Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya, Ram Krishna Jaya Jaya, Ram Krishna Sharanam. Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Jai Jai Ram Krishna Sharanam, Sharanye. Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namami. Namaste to everyone. Welcome to this Satsang today. And the theme is the third dimension, bringing God into our life. In our life, relationships are very important. A person finds peace and strength in having good relationship with one's family and friends. But a person who does not have any relatives or friends is very lonely. And we are facing this problem today in this world wherein people do not know who their neighbors are, or people go into nursing homes and all that, and they feel very lonely over there because they have not develop this sense of relationship with their neighbors or with strangers. Not even with strangers, but with their own family itself. It is a business relationship more than a loving relationship. But a relative is known in Sanskrit as Atmiya. Atmiya or Attiyo in Bengali. That means related to the self, the Atman or the self. That is the true meaning of a relative, is one who is very dear and near to one's self. That is the Atman. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, one of our Upanishads, Yajnavalkya, the sage, is instructing his wife, Maitreyi. And she asks this question: why is it that a husband loves the wife so much? Why is it that the wife loves the husband so much, and so on? To this, Yajnavalkya responds, Nava are patyuh kamaya patih priyo bhavatyatmanastu kamaya patih priyo bhavati. And so on and so forth. I will not bore you with the Sanskrit verses. The meaning is, verily, not for the sake of husband is the husband loved. A wife loves the husband not for the sake of the husband, but he is loved for the sake of self. For your own self, you love somebody. So he enumerates about it and says, you love your spouse, you love your children, you love your wealth, you love your material items, and even gods. You love gods because of your very own self, for the sake of all the beings that are our Atmiya. They are our relatives. That is the truth. Because in and through the divine, we have our existence. We have our existence because of the divine. He is the connecting factor, as it were. But we become miserable in life because we have divorced ourselves. In our thinking, we have divorced ourselves from God. God is somewhere to be found in churches or in temples or in mosques only. The rest of the universe, we don't find God. That is not something that is to be thought about. So we need to re-establish this relationship with the divine. We live in this world with this two-dimensional relationship, I and mine. I and mine. Just imagine anything that you do, anything that you think of is related to these two things, I and mine. Aham mama. Aham mameti pratitam shariram bhogaspatam sthulyam atiryate buddhaihi, says Shankaracharya in the Viveka Chudamani. This I and mine seems to be the root of the whole of the universe. My universe revolves around these two things, I and mine. Can we add one more dimension to it? The dimension of the divine is the subject of our discussion today, our talk today. I will first narrate a story from the Mahabharata. Those of you who are acquainted with the Hindu culture know about the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata war, which is between two armies, the cousins, the Kauravas and Pandavas, but they didn't get it. Kauravas usurped the whole of the land, and therefore there is a war. A war is declared. Kauravas are on one side, and the Pandavas, the 5 Pandava brothers, are on the other side. There is somebody in between these two people who is Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna does not want this war to happen. So he goes as an emissary of the Pandavas to the Kauravas and begs them, almost begs them, to give just some villages to them so that they can live, they can rule it and live. But the Kaurava king refuses. When the war starts, they all start getting their allies. They start calling their allies. So the Kauravas, being the kings, they had access to many of the kingdoms, and so they get them all on their side. Pandavas also, being virtuous and with Sri Krishna as their friend, guide and philosopher, they also go out and ask some of the kings who were very virtuous to join them, and they come and join them. Now there is one person who was neutral, that is Sri Krishna. So the Sri Krishna is asked, which party do you want to go to? To the Kaurava party or to the Pandava party? So Krishna says, well, I will give my verdict this evening. So you come to my tent and I will let you know. So Arjuna from the Pandavas and Duryodhana from the Kauravas, they decide to go and then get Sri Krishna to their side. So Krishna is having his afternoon rest, is lying down, and these two enter and he is still sleeping. Arjuna goes and then stands near the feet of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna had earlier told that whoever I see first will be given the first preference. Whatever he wants, will get it. So Arjuna goes and stands near the feet of Sri Krishna, whereas Duryodhana goes and then stands near the head of Sri Krishna, thinking that Sri Krishna would turn towards him first and then ask him what he wants. So when Sri Krishna woke up, his eyes straight fell upon Arjuna. And then he sees Duryodhana and says, I had promised that whoever I will see first will have the first option. I have two options. What is it? Whereas I have got a Narayani Sena, that is an army. And army, it is mentioned in the Mahabharata as the Akshauhini Sena. That means with lots of animals and foot soldiers. And it also gives the number. You will have 21,870 chariots, 21,870 elephants, 65,610 horses, and 109,350 infantry. It means warriors on their feet. So I have this war weapon with me. This is what I possess. So do you want this, or do you want me to come with you without any weapon? Arjuna, who got the first option, he immediately says, "O Krishna, I want you alone. I do not want your army." Duryodhana thinks for himself, this is a fool. What can Sri Krishna do without any arms? So he, with a smile on his face, Duryodhana bows down to Sri Krishna and says, "Well, I will take your army. I don't want you. I will take your army." And that's how the Narayani Sena, the army, goes to the Kauravas, and Pandavas get Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna says, "I will be your charioteer, but I will not wield any weapon at all." That Sri Krishna is on their side. Before the war begins, both the armies have come together in a vast meadow. This war is being waged. It is not the war like today's. In those days, they used to follow the morals and ethics of war. Say they will not fight after the evening. In the evening, everyone will go to each other's tents and then exchange their food and drinks and all of that. But in the morning again, they will start fighting. When the conches would be blown, they would go and fight. That was how the war used to be waged. Now, when both the armies are arrayed to fight, Sri Krishna brings his chariot in between these two armies, and Arjuna says, "Let me see who are all there prepared to fight against me." And Duryodhana also does the same thing. He brings the chariot in front, and then Duryodhana addresses his guru, Drona, who was the teacher of both the Pandavas and Kauravas. See the impartiality that these people had in those days. He was the teacher for both of them, but because he had consumed the salt of Duryodhana, that means he had consumed the food of Duryodhana, he had to stay with Duryodhana to wage the war. Be that as it may, now Duryodhana, with great egotism, addresses his guru, Dronacharya, and says, "Pashyaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Yudham Drupadaputrena Tava Shishyena Dhimata." They are led by Drupadaputra, the son of Drupada, and they are all ready to wage war against you. Secretly, he was telling him that, look at your own disciple over here, he is ready to wage war against you. What kind of a disciple is he? So he was taunting Drona, as it were. And then he points out to all of his own army and says, "These are the armies that we have, and these are the armies that our enemies have." When the turn comes to Arjuna to speak, Arjuna bows down before Sri Krishna and says, "Look here, Sri Krishna, in our army, it is you First of all, he says, Bhavan, Bhishmascha, Karnascha, Kripascha, Samitinjayaha, Ashwathama, Vikarnascha, Saumadattir, Jayadrataha. So he says, Bhavan, Bhishmascha, Karnascha. Yourself is there. First he places God before himself, and then he says Bhishma and other great elders. First he addresses all the elders, and afterwards he says the rest of our army, and he names all the armies over there. That is to say, Duryodhana, from the Kaurava army, he spoke arrogantly about his own prowess. He did not even think of mentioning Sri Krishna, who is amongst the warriors. Whereas Arjuna puts the Lord first, puts Sri Krishna first and said, you are there, so what is there for me to worry about? Similarly, in our life, when we face our trials and tribulations, our life is also a war. Just like Mahabharata war, our life is also a war. We wage the war within ourselves, within our minds, and also we wage the war with the people outside. So when we do that, can we bring in this one more element within us, one more dimension, as I have said, one more dimension that God is with me? Can we start our work by remembering that God is with us? Can we also end the work with offering all that we have done to the divine? That is something which spiritual life taught me this. He said, God first, world next, and yourself last. He used to tell me. First remember this throughout your life. God first, world next, and yourself last. We live in the world, or we human beings are of different types. One is bhutachari. That means those who live in the past, keep on living in the past, worrying about the past, mulling over the past. That's what some of us do. Keep on thinking of it and waste our lives. We do not go forward, but we do not live in the present in the first place. But we live in the past, bhutachari. And then the second type of people that we have in this world are pashuchari. Pashucharya means living like animals. Living like animals, living like any animals who have who take revenge against those who do any wrong for you to you. Tit for tat. That is, in the animal kingdom it is very much evident. So amongst us, we also have people who live by always looking at the faults of others and trying to harm the others, take revenge against the others. And then we have what is called as manushyacharyas. That means some who live like human beings, that is, if you help me, if you are kind to me, I will be kind to you. If you are bad towards me, then I will also be wicked towards you. That is a human nature which we all have. But then we should bring in our life one more aspect, devachari. Devacharya means to live like the divine, like God. As the English saying goes, God gives and forgives. Man gets and forgets. God gives and forgives. He doesn't remember what he has given. But man gets and forgets. We get, in fact, even in our daily life, We get so many good things, good advice from people, help from people and all that, but we tend to forget it very conveniently, so to say. And that giving and forgiving will come into our life. In the Bhagavata Mahapurana, in the Bhagavata scripture, there is an interesting conversation between Shukadeva and King Parikshit. For those who are not familiar with the Bhagavatam, King Parikshit was the grandson, was the son of Abhimanyu, grandson of Arjuna. Arjuna had a wife called Uttara, and in her womb was born this Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu's son was Parikshit, so grandson, a great grandson of Arjuna. So, when Abhimanyu went to wage the war, he was caught by the Kaurava army and he was destroyed. Now, Ashwathama, who wanted to take revenge against his father's death, wanted to kill the whole family of Arjuna. And therefore, what does he do? He tries to kill the wife of Arjuna, that is, wife of Abhimanyu, Uttara. And he sends his weapon to kill Abhimanyu's wife, Uttara. And she was pregnant with King Parikshit in her womb. And at that time, Sri Krishna intervenes and he sends his weapon or his power and he stops that weapon in killing Uttara's womb. And that's how Parikshit was born. Later, Parikshit, he was going in. He was into in a forest, and there he irates a sage, and as a result, he was punished or he was cursed that he would be killed by snakes or serpents. I will not go into too great details. So when he knows, Parikshit knows that the time has come for him to leave this world, he organizes a big prayer meeting, and then sages from everywhere come, and Shukadeva, who was a realized soul and the son of sage Vyasa, he comes there and then he narrates the life of Sri Krishna to Parikshit. And there he gives 5 instructions to King Parikshit and through him to all of us. He says, if you want to bring the divine into your life, try to keep these 5 points in mind. What are those 5 points? He says, think of the divine as the adhara. That means he is the very substratum, the very basis of life. In order for this building to be built, we laid a very strong foundation. So in order for us to lead a peaceful life, let us think that God is the very basis of my life. He is the very basis of my life. And have that faith that God is there with me at all times. There is a beautiful song, I'm just reminded of it, by one of the Brahmo composers, which Sri Ramakrishna used to listen. It is called as, it is Natho Sharbosho Amar Pranadhar Sharat Shar. and I will just read the meaning of it. You are the life of my life, O Lord. You are the essence of essence. In the three worlds, I have none else but Thee to call my own. Thou art my peace, my joy, my hope. Thou my support, my wealth, my glory. Thou my wisdom and my strength. Thou art my home, my place. Thou my heaven and my salvation. Thou art my scriptures, my commandments. Thou art my ever gracious Guru. Thou the spring of my boundless bliss. Thou art the way and Thou the goal. Thou the adorable one, O Lord. Thou art the mother, tender-hearted. Thou the chastising Father. Thou the creator and protector. Thou the helmsman who dost steer my craft across the ocean of life. Natho tumi sharbasho amar. Make God the very foundation of your life. That's what Shukadeva teaches Parikshit. Make God the very foundation of your life. Then he says, you must practice adhinata to God. That is, becoming a humble servant of the divine. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that instead of saying, I am so and so, instead of letting the ego go scot-free, let that ego be a servant of the divine. Have the pride that I am a servant of the divine and I am serving the universe as the servant of the divine. That is adhinata. And the third one, he says, avalambana. Have an avalambana. Avalambana means dependence on the divine. See, my arms are dependent upon the neck over here. Help here, there and everywhere. At last we find that there is no way anywhere. Sri Ramakrishna used to give a beautiful example. There was a bird. This bird had its perch somewhere on land, and then it saw the mast of a ship. So it went and sat upon the mast of the ship, and it went to sleep. In the meantime, the ship sailed. It started going forward. And then it went to the mid-ocean. Then the bird woke up and it saw water and water everywhere. So it flew to the east and it didn't find any land. It came back. To the west it flew. It didn't find any land. To the south, no land. North, no land. By this time, her wings had become very tired, very exhausted. Then she said, well, the ship will anyhow lead me to the land. It will definitely dock at a land. So let me do that. Saying this, it went and sat there without trying to move at all. As a result, the ship came and then docked at the port, and then it went and flew towards its home. So in the same way, if we can have this adhinata after exhausting all our energies, if we can rely upon the divine, adhinata. This is very important. This is what Parikshita is being told by Shukadeva, Avalambana. It's very important. Many things, great things accomplish because of this kind of an attitude. I am just reminded of the life of Saint Teresa of Avila. Those who have read the life of Saint Teresa know that Saint Teresa gave up the authority of the church and established her own order. And Teresa was poor. She didn't have any money at all. She had a tattered robe, and a few people came, especially ladies, came and joined her. She could hardly provide for their food and accommodation. But one day in the town hall meeting, Teresa declared, "I am going to build a magnificent church and a nunnery over here." So everybody looked at her face and said, "How are you going to do it? Do you have enough money to do that?" Teresa said, she took out a penny from her robe, put it on the table. "Here is the money for the church." So everybody laughed at her and said, "Well, you are a fool. How can you build a church, a mighty church, with the help of a penny?" She said, "Along with the penny, I have got something much, much more valuable." What is it? "I have Christ with me. I have Christ with me. He is there." She used to, if you read her life, it is extraordinary. Her conversations with her Lord. She writes, later she used to write letters inspiring people, inspiring nuns everywhere. So that is it. Because she was totally dedicated. Her whole life was dedicated to the Lord, and she knew that the Lord would help her. Sometimes she was also in great despair, and she would cry out, "Oh Lord, why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken me?" But the Lord did not abandon her. He was there in the corner waiting to see her to exhaust all her energies. Once you have exhausted all of your energies, like the bird on the mast, and then you sit at the feet of the Lord will provide us everything. That is as avalambana. And then the fourth quality that a devotee must have is prapatti. That means surrender, not mine. I am there, but nothing belongs to me. Ultimately, nothing belongs to us. We come without anything and we go out without anything, definitely. So therefore, na mama prapatti. That means surrender, total surrender to the divine. That's, we do all our activities, but have that attitude of surrender to the divine. Let us rest all our worries and concerns in the Lord. A man was once a vegetable seller in India, was traveling once with a basket full of vegetables to sell in the next town, and he was traveling by train, and he had a ticket for himself, and he was keeping the basket on his head. And when the ticket collector came and asked him, "Well, why are you keeping the basket on your head? Why don't you put it in the luggage compartment or on the rack?" He said, "Sir," he was an honest man, he said, "Sir, I have paid for myself, but I have not paid for the basket. He said, no, your ticket covers both yourself and that. So keep it away from the divine and leave it over there. I say this many times. I have said this. I used to go to a monastery in Bandanoon near Canberra. When I was in Sydney, I used to do that every year. For a few days, I would disappear and go and stay there. The monk was very kind towards me, and he would lead a meditation group in the mornings, early in the mornings. So the monastery is beautifully located, and they have about 1,000 acres of land, and it is overlooking a valley. And he used to say in the morning, when after meditation, he would guide everyone, come out, all of you, take you for a walking meditation, and then he would say, stand here in front of this valley and bring out all of your concerns and worries and everything, and then with your hands raised, throw it into the valley. Let it all disappear. Yesterday I mentioned it in my Gita class as well. So this is something which we need to do. We need not carry all the concerns and worries, because the Lord has said, I will take care of it. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. I will bear your burden. So that can be done. That is called as prapatti. It means surrender. You surrender yourself to the divine. And the last one is vyakulata. That means intense yearning for the divine. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that you should have the kind of vyakulata that a lover has for her paramour. That means for her lover. She is always thinking of him, where to meet, when to meet, and all that. Of course, after marriage it all changes. That's a different thing. But while you are in love, you always think of your beloved. That kind of a yearning should be there. Or, he says, a yearning of a child towards the mother. The child may be given lots of toys. She will be playing with the toys. But when she wants her mother, she will not like any of those toys or anything. Throw away everything. Give her anything, she will not like it. Is my ultimate goal, and therefore I will be with God. I want to be with God. So associate yourself regularly with the divine. Just for 15 or 20 minutes every day, associate yourself, think of the divine. Sri Ramakrishna used to give a beautiful example. A blacksmith, nowadays many people might not have even seen a blacksmith in these countries, whereas we, in our childhood days, we used to see these blacksmiths. So, blacksmith, he takes an iron rod or iron thing that has to be bent, and then he will hold it with the right hand, and with the left hand he will operate the bellow, and then he will heat up or warm up the iron rod on the fire while using the bellow with the other hand. And when the iron is red hot, he will then take the tongs, put it on the anvil, and then shape it according to the shape that he wants it. So that's what one should do. For about 15-20 minutes, he will be pumping the bellow, and then will be heating it up. And afterwards, then he will shape it to the shape, and then he will put it in water for it to cool, and then a tool is made. Similarly, we sometimes have to have this tapa, that heat within us, so that it can cleanse us and so that it can be shaped into the manner that we want it to be. Our mind needs to be shaped. That is why we call spiritual practice as tapas. Tapaha means heat, generating great heat. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we find that so much of heat was generated in his body that it would burn. He would go to the banks of the river Ganges, and then he would roll upon the sand, and the sand would become flakes, as it were. His body would be so hot. So that is tapas. Of course, we cannot bear that kind of thing. Then a lady, Bhairavi Brahmani, scriptures, so she organizes some people to grind the sandal paste. For a very long time they will be keeping on grinding the sandal paste, and she would take it and then smear it on his body. After doing this for a very long time, that heat subsided. So that is the heat generated by this vyakulata, this intensity of yearning for the divine. So we need to remember this vyakulata, this yearning towards the divine, if we want to bring the divine into our house, into the hearts. The house of this body is our spiritual heart, there's no doubt. So we will for some time practice a little bit of visualization. You may call it meditation. So I would request all of you to sit very comfortably on your chairs. Please be seated with your backs erect, and kindly keep your eyes closed. Please keep your eyes closed. I will guide you through a visualization process. Imagine that you are climbing a peak, a mountain peak, maybe Himalayas or any mountain peak. You are climbing, you are at the foothills of the mountain. It's a very clear day, and you are preparing now to climb the mountain. As you are preparing, you want to gather all of your possessions. So make an individual packet of your concerns, your worries, or your affection and other things. Your concerns, your house loan, make a packet of your house loan. Make a packet of your car loan. Make a packet of your job, concern about your job. Make another packet of your health, another packet of your future, another one of your spouse, another of your children, their concerns, their worries. All of these are the packets that you are going to carry up the mountain. Put all of these packets on your backpack and you zip on. Now take your climbing stick and slowly start climbing the mountain. The climb is very gradual. You are climbing with the backpack on, going up, up. There's a long way to go. You are aware of your walking, your climbing, and you are also aware that you have got a backpack full of all of your worries and other packages. As you keep climbing, the path becomes steep, steeper and steeper. The bag becomes heavier, much heavier than what you felt while on the ground. You're going up, the bag is getting heavier, your walking has become slower, your climbing has become slower, you become exhausted. Pause for some water, drink some water. After drinking the water, you feel energized, you start climbing again. Again, the bag becomes heavier, heavier and heavier. Keep going up, up. You almost want to give up now, climbing. Very slippery. Moreover, the baggage is becoming very heavy. Suddenly, somebody comes from behind and says to you, "Give me your bag, I will carry it." You are looking forward. You do not even have the energy to turn backwards. And this person says, "Do not look backward. I will take care of your baggage. You climb." So with the baggage being divested, given to the stranger, you start walking, you start climbing, less of weight, you are becoming more agile, and you are climbing. You have now reached the top of the mountain, and there is a flat area. Then you look behind and try to find out where your baggage porter is. You do not find the baggage porter behind you. But you are so exhausted, you don't want to think. You sit there on the ground and start looking at the majestic mountain ranges. You take a sip of water, and then it dawns to you that you need some food from the bag, the backpack. And you cry out, "Where are you? Where are you? Bring my bag back." Suddenly in front of you appears the Lord with your baggage with him. He is sitting in front of you, and the Lord says, "Well, you have carried your baggage for a very long time. Now, leave the baggage to me. I will take care of the contents of this bag. but I will give you your food that is necessary. So saying, the Lord gives you the food. You are sitting and looking towards the Lord. You can see compassion in His eyes. You see kindness in Him. You see love flowing out of His eyes. You become absorbed at this sight. Slowly and slowly, the Lord who is in front of you enters into you, becomes one with you. You are in great joy. The Lord is within me. I am with the Lord. Just feel the presence of the Divine within yourself. We will conclude by chanting the mantra Om 3 times. Take a deep breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. So let us have this third dimension very firmly established within ourselves. I, myself, and the Divine. Together we can make this life a heaven. Thank you. Nahin, would you like to sing one bhajan, please?
मन एक बार हरि बोल, मन एक बार हरि बोल, मन एक बार हरि बोल, मन एक बार हरि बोल। हरि 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 बोले, हरि 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 बोले, हरि 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 बोले, हरि 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 बोले। मन एक बार हरि बोल, एक बार हरि बोल। हरि पिता हरि माता, हरि पिता हरि माता, हरि पिता पिता हरि माता, हरि पिता हरि माता, हरि गुरु ज्ञान दाता, हरि गुरु ज्ञान दाता, हरि पिता हरि माता, हरि पिता हरि माता, हरि गुरु ज्ञान दाता, गुरु ज्ञान दाता, चिदानंद रूप हरि पतित पावन, हरि एक बार हरि बोल। नंद रूप हरि पतित पावन, हरि एक बार हरि बोल। चिदानंद रूप हरि पतित पावन, हरि एक बार हरि बोल। चिदानंद रूप हरि पतित पावन, हरि एक बार हरि बोल। मन एक बार हरि बोल, एक बार मन एक बार हरि बोल, मन एक बार हरि बोल।
Soon, and then we will go down and have our prasad. Please collect your footwear before you go down, so go down by the car park. Today's proceedings are sponsored by the Kota family, Amrita and Shankar Kota and their 2 children. Just a little side note, today is Shankar Kota's birthday, so you might want to wish him as you see him.
ॐ ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्महवि ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्यं ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना अन्नपूर्णे सदा में पार्वती। नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्य मनादित, नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्य मनादित, मनोवचनैकाधार प्रभु मनोवचनैकाधार। ज्योतिरज्योति उज्ज्वलहृदिकम्, ज्योतिरज्योति उज्ज्वलहृदिकम्, तुमितमभञ्जनम् प्रभु तुमितमभञ्जनम्। नमो नमो प्रभु वाक्य मनादित, नमो नमो प्रभु मनोवचनैकाधार, प्रभु मनोवचनैकाधार। ज्योतिरज्योति उज्ज्वलहृदिकम्, ज्योतिरज्योति उज्ज्वलहृदिकम्, तुमितमभञ्जनः प्रभु तुमितमभञ्जनः। हृदिलङ्गरङ्गभङ्ग पादेयङ्गसङ्गं
Vedang Dete Langa Ranga Bang Baje Anga Sanga Vedang Gaiche Chamda Bhagatavin Arati Tomar Gaiche Chamda Bhagatavin Arati Tomar Jaya Jaya Arati Tomar Hara Hara Arati Tomar Shiva Shiva Arati Tomar Khandana Bhava Bandhana Jaga Bandhana Vandito Mai Jai Sri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai.